All right, what's up? It's Hayes, your coach of the New Orleans Noivern. And we're here, but we're doing a different type of video. We are talking about Survivor today, specifically season 42, the newest season. And we're going to be giving all of our thoughts on it today. Now, I couldn't do this without my two brilliant co-hosts, Badass Frostlass
What's up,
and
y'all?
Aquarius.
Hey.
And we're gonna just be summing up our thoughts on Survivor 42. So
Yeah,
let's get started. We're gonna start with the premiere episode. So overall, I think this is just a very strong start to the season. Sets up for a lot of the players, and yeah. Do y'all
yeah. I
wanna?
think it was a wonderful start to the season with Jackson being medevac off rip.
Oh, for sure.
Just because I think it was a super exciting premiere, but that made everything like it gave it a weird start to the season because you don't ever see the first person being out of the game. Usually you see him getting voted off, double tribal type of deal,
Yeah.
get it off there strong. And I did really feel bad for Jackson.
Yeah, and I felt like after seeing a story like his, and then to see him
Yeah.
immediately have to get like pulled from the
Very
game, I think
rude.
that was very disappointing to see. I don't
Very rude to
really,
edit, give him a great story, and then
yeah, I don't
immediately
really like how that
they
was
knew he wasn't
handled.
going to be around.
I'm glad at least they gave us the story, but it just kind of felt weird
Yeah,
to see play out.
and it was one where I saw a lot of people blaming Jackson for this online, and I was upset with that because like
Oh
if
yeah.
I'm in Jackson's position and medical clears me for it, I'm going to go play.
Oh,
Like
100%.
I know he like lied about some stuff, and sure, maybe not a great idea, but that's on the medical team and everyone like that to say no,
Yeah.
you're not going out there. And like if I get the chance to play on Survivor, I'm going to go play on Survivor.
Yeah. And now, like, with, I guess, some postseason interviews, they've kind of talked about it potentially not having a huge impact. Like, some people say that Maria was the first boot, some say
Yeah.
Jackson, but they were obviously
Well,
kind
it
of
was
on the
Zach, I
outs of
think,
that.
first.
No, I
Who?
know, but on that tribe at least.
Oh, gotcha,
Yeah,
gotcha,
yeah, yeah.
gotcha.
And I guess we can talk hypotheticals because only one of them go out without his medevac
Yeah,
until
yeah,
the merge. So I think that could be interesting to kind of, I guess, see how that would
yeah.
play
Because I do
out.
think Jackson would have had a good shot of going quite far in the game just because of the
Yeah.
tribe that he was put on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. He would have had at least 5
Jackson would
going
have been
into the
able to
merge.
drag another person through all the pre-merge challenges.
Oh, absolutely.
I do think that the main Taku for of Marianne and Jonathan and Lindsay and Omar probably would have stayed together as the
Yeah,
dominant
no,
block
he
for
was definitely
regardless
on
of
the
the
outs of that
evacuation or not.
5.
Yeah, he would have just been the fifth in that tribe, if
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Um,
hard to play what ifs, but I do agree with Matt here that it really was a strange premiere episode in the sense that like it got off to a pretty good start and then
Yeah.
it just kind of disrupted in that moment really awkwardly. And I think obviously what makes it different from other medevacs is it seemed like there wasn't a lot of context given in the episode itself as much as there was like in the, I guess, like post interview slash
Yeah.
I feel like this is the first time that a
post
medevac has
episode
been
media.
caused by something that wasn't part of the game. It was caused by something out of the game.
Yeah.
Because like
It
I
was
can't think of
strange.
another
I can't think
medevac
of
where it was
another either. Yeah.
pre-existing condition.
Yeah. Definitely a strange thing to happen. I imagine he'll get invited back if
I don't think they do. I think the producers are probably real upset because they
Yeah,
see it as
I think
if
so.
the producers were real upset, they wouldn't have done the entire
I don't think they're
story and
real
stuff on the
upset. I
Yeah.
think they're
episode.
probably. I feel like they could, like, kind of like how Philippines gave, like,
Francesca was coming
Scoopin
back.
and Jonathan Penner anher chance after them
Yeah.
getting
Yeah.
medevaced
I
and
don't
having
see
to
them
leave.
considering Jackson as like a high profile player and where they're
No.
like, we need Jackson back.
Yeah, I would
Maybe
like to
not.
at least
I
see
mean,
him
It's one
because
of
I
those-
think he has potential.
Yeah,
I am I mean, this obviously delves into a little bit more of like a political realm that we probably don't need to go super far into, but like they clearly liked having a trans guy
Yeah,
on Survivor,
yes.
and you know,
Yeah.
as a trans woman, I can see right through that stuff and how they, you know, really fucking
you're telling me Jeff is
feel
trying
like,
to be
you know, they're
on the
feeling
nose
real
about it?
good about that, you know, and you know, if they can put him back out there, I think they're going to jump on the opportunity because they already, if they didn't have plans to do that, or at least
Uh-huh.
have at least some semblance of interest doing that, they wouldn't have spent so much time building up who he was in that first episode,
Yeah, I
you
do
know,
Oh, absolutely.
without some future prospects for him,
Yeah.
even if they aren't set in stone now. Is, you know, they wouldn't have put all that effort into there if they didn't, you know, think they would
Yeah.
come back.
Mhm.
I
But
mean,
also
I
looking
guess
through the whole cast, like there's very few people I see that don't have the potential to return.
Oh
Like,
yeah, 100%. I think we can touch on that a bit later. But
'cause, like,
this
the
was
first-
an
the first
overall.
person voted.
yeah.
Zach was the first person voted
Oh,
out.
yeah.
He has returning energy. He's probably
Oh,
never.
absolutely.
He has.
And then we can kind of move into talking about Zach. I think Zach was a super interesting player to like see plan out because of like this archetype of a super fan. I don't think we've ever seen
We've
him
had a
like.
couple flame out like Zach.
Yeah,
but
I don't
not-
think we've ever seen him like flame out like this. I mean,
Yeah,
I
We
can't really
saw
think
what's
of
his
too
name
many.
from Ghost Island.
Oh, yeah,
He was
no, I
the
remember
one
that
person
guy,
I could
yeah,
think
yeah.
of, but
I forgot
I think his name was like
but-
Jared or something.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think Zach is very similar to JD last season in that they're just young,
Mm.
excited,
Yeah.
and like everyone recognizes that that's who they are,
Mhm.
and I wouldn't want to keep around a Zach either, especially because you've seen this archetype become like considered a threat every season because of
absolutely.
like Cochran's and Christian and everyone
And
like that.
Spencer's and
Yeah,
Adams.
And so like I feel like I'm kind of bored of the Zach archetype, which is
I
kind
really
of
am,
very,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
if I were like to make it on a Survivor, it'd be casted as a Zach. But like I'm over the Zach archetype at this
Mhm.
point.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I just
and I
thought it
think
was
that-
cool to at least see that kind
do
of
like
flame
seeing
out
super
happen
fans.
again.
But there's plenty of like most people on Survivor nowadays are super fans.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
we're not in the days of season 5 where 80% of the cast is just cast without knowing what Survivor is.
Hmm.
It is a little weird though, in that sense that I think that maybe there are some. I mean, this is maybe less of a pre-merge conversation and more of like a
Uh-huh.
broader casting
You need more Rock
conversation.
Boy.
But I mean, maybe. But like, I do feel like as versatile demographically,
Uh-huh.
in age and experience this cast was, it all seemed like a lot of them were quite like-minded, absent
Yeah.
one or two standouts in the season. As you know, as much as Zach was framed as the nerdy super fan, so
Uh-huh.
was also like 70% of the cast. Like,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
think Zach
no,
being ousted number one
absolutely.
was super significant. He was played up as this super fan, unlike these other
Yeah.
Yeah.
people, but he was just as much of a super fan as everyone else. And what's
Yeah.
interesting is that people like that, you know, are good to have on the season, but I almost wish that there were less, in the sense that I like there being sort of people that are just like normal everyday people. Not that Survivor
they
fans
know the
aren't
game-
normal
Yeah.
everyday
They know the
people,
game
but
is
like,
playing out.
But like
But
kind
it's
of
not the-
overly so. Like
Yeah.
they just kind of I guess hyperbolize the archetype a lot.
exactly. Like one example that and this might be an unpopular opinion, I'm not sure. Is like one example is Rodney from Worlds Apart. He like
Oh.
barely ever watched Survivor. He was
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
television. You know what
Oh,
I mean?
yeah.
And it's like that's an example of someone that can learn a game and adapt to a game and still be entertaining television without being obsessive over how the game works.
Absolutely.
I do think
the-
it's a lot harder to find people that want to be on Survivor that haven't heard of Survivor at this point is the problem.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's one of
Because
the,
like back in the early days, you know, you got fame and fortune out of it. Nowadays, it's just like you have to
Well,
be a
I think-
fan.
I
Go
also
watch it.
think that the reason that the casting for the quote-unquote super fans has increased, and I don't mean the super fan archetype, I just mean people who
Yeah,
are
yeah.
very, very knowledgeable with how the game strategically works, is that they're, this season they went, and last season they went crazy with advantages. So if they
Yeah.
have a bunch of people there who can't comprehend the deep strategical plane that necessitates using these advantages correctly or whatever, then it kind of destroys, I guess, what they were hoping for in the sea. I don't know. It's just something very strange. But I do miss the casting of players who kind of are learning as they're going along.
Yeah.
I mean, Russell Hantz was one of those people. You know what I mean? It's like there's people who they don't have to be super fans to be good players, and to some extent, a lot of these people weren't very good strategical players because they were trying to overplay themselves all the time. So
I 100% agree with that. And
I just wanted to make that statement on the whole Zach thing, because as much as everyone's like, oh, Zach is a Cochran, like everyone's a fucking Cochran at this point. It feels like. So it's this weird thing that it's like, I feel like, I don't know. That's my one gripe about the cast. Otherwise, the cast is really good. But that's my one
I think that
gripe.
could be why they're throwing so many twists at them, though, is because they're like, oh, well, the game's not solved, but like people know how to play the game at this point, so we have to keep them on their toes. And
they have to
not
make some like formula changes to kind of put all these people that have like studied the game in and out, watched.
Right, but they've chosen to recruit those people.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, we need more Love Island cast members on this show.
Exactly.
Bring me back the dumb models that are just on.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's just my little gripe with Zach. I think Zach is the first in a long list of players this season who felt like they really knew the game coming in and realized, they overplayed.
And we'll touch on some more of those later for sure. There's a couple of those that come to mind this season for sure.
Yeah.
So now we can talk about one that we touched on earlier. We can talk about Maria and her kind of
was so insignificant.
I
don't think she got any like meaningful screen time. At least
I mean, there was like a story about her brother, which was like fine. I mean, I don't know how I feel about all of these like emotional stories on the season.
I don't know.
Weird.
I am like to some extent, as much as I'm like the trans woman in this podcast, like I am also the like angry like
it's like
boomer on Twitter being like, bring back old Survivor, like there's too many advantages, too many sob stories, like all this stuff.
I like bringing on interesting people, but let me learn about the people outside the show.
Exactly. I think I was so fed up with it because at this point in the season I was starting to think, ooh, maybe I'm not gonna like this season because, and I do like this season by the end of it, but at the start of the season I was skeptical because they've done now by episode 2, so in 2 episodes they built up a big, I'm just gonna say, like, obviously this might be a little disrespectful to say, but I call them sob stories not because the players are propagating
that's
sob
what they
stories,
want,
but because the producers are milking them, you know what I mean? So I call them sob stories for that reason, but don't mean disrespect to the individual players.
Well, I also think it's disrespectful to the players as well to have these things.
I do too.
Yeah, to kind of make them take up their kind of screen time, them kind of talking.
Why can't they just be on the show because they're a cool person?
Yeah.
But Maria's exit was so weird because it was literally just straight up like, it was just like,
I do think
here's my thing about my thing about my brother and dying to
now
COVID
we're
and
at
things
tribal.
like that, and now you're getting a unanimous vote out, like,
so,
you know what I mean? Like,
the thing about the kind of sob stories is, I don't know if any of you have seen Australian Survivor, but that's what they do with a lot of the characters.
That's why I don't like Australian Survivor.
They have a lot more time.
They have a lot more time. They have a lot more characters too, so they kind of just say, all right, let me give you like a little promo segment where you talk about but
I can keep track of 16 players or whatever they're throwing at.
I think being able to understand, I guess, like their kind of story, their kind of motivation towards doing this, towards playing really hard, I think that's good, but I think in a sense it's probably too much at points for sure. So
I do have to say, I think Maria was a huge martyr because everyone else on her tribe was incredible in the post-merge.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Like, if we lost anyone else, we'd be missing.
I don't
out.
really think she had too much potential in the long run, but I think everyone else did.
Because I think in the
so-
episode they were like, it's either her or Lindsay or
Yeah.
Marianne. Like, which of these people?
I
is
think it
the
was
least?
her,
Yeah.
Marianne. Yeah.
But it's for that reason that I like her boot here, both from a strategic sense, but also just from a storytelling sense.
Yeah.
And
And I
you
think
know,
it kind
just
of
feel
like hammered
if the-
in the
Yeah.
Taku kind of just working together.
Sure,
I think
yeah.
they got like really tight after this for sure.
Yeah, no. I feel like if that episode of her boot was just like, I mean, I just feel like it was so sappy, and again,
Yeah.
because of the production, not because of her.
Yeah.
It was so sappy that when the episode happens, then she gets booted at the end. I'm kind of just like, geez, okay. When I feel like instead it could have been an episode about the Taku 4 and them coming together and like all of this stuff that is just sort of implied rather than shown in this part of the early merge, that I'm just skeptical about how these boots are getting shown with the whole sob story and then and then elimination. It's just
Yeah,
like
you know who's going
a
home because
Yeah.
strange, you know it, and it's just a strange viewing experience. There's no,
And it's also the thing with the like
it doesn't feel good.
what is it, the shot in the dark, like all these people using their shot in the darks is just
Which is very different from
Unanimous.
last season.
I'm very
I-
scared for a shot in the dark that succeeds.
it
I
does
don't want to.
it does kind of reveal like where the votes are going if they feel like
Yeah.
they need to use the shot in the dark. I don't think it was used in that sense last season. Because it was used like one time.
Yeah, I think the whole shot in the dark was supposed to, make people split votes and be more important, like emphasizing blind sides. And like that kind of happened in 41, but 42, it didn't feel like it was a problem at all.
No,
Right. No, that makes sense.
because I mean 1-6 is just not enough to really make a difference. I honestly thought it could have.
We're 0 for 6 now.
Yeah, I think
We're not
I
supposed
feel
to.
like it. I kept thinking it could have made a difference, but it just never did.
Yeah, I think it's one of the least egregious changes in like mix-ups, but like
Mhm.
it's still not great. It's unnecessary.
All right.
Well, you know
we
what we
talk
didn't
about
talk about was
Wait
the,
now?
or I guess we can talk about this later. But while we are,
We can talk about the
merge.
the amulet.
Yeah, I was gonna say
yeah.
the amulet, isn't that a thing? And then
I
the
think we can all give our
phrases,
thoughts on
which are all
that.
coming out at this point.
Oh, the phrases. We'll talk about
That's
the
gonna be
phrases
weird.
in just a second. It's going to be relevant in a second, but let's talk about the amulet real quick. I think
think
it's a
amulet's
cool
cool.
idea. I think it was done wrong in a sense, though.
I think it was played. I was very surprised that the people with the amulets weren't target each other more.
Yeah. Well, the actual episode with it was funny with the
Yeah,
fucking
yeah,
fake
that was-
blood
I
and
found
shit.
that hilarious. But I also
High
found
cover
it.
yourself in red.
I found High's tribe mates so fucking stupid.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like absolute like idiocy.
So I
Not
think
realizing.
it was inherently like I think what they were trying to do with it was trying to kind of make cross tribal lines, but also.
I thought it was to more make targets. 'Cause
It,
you want
well,
to
it's
get rid
it's
of these-
both at the same time. I feel like.
I would never
um,
work with the other people with the amulet.
I
I'd
think,
want them out immediately.
yeah. Well, I think that's kind of what it was,
I think that's what they
unbalanced
expected.
in a sense. That you think that's what they expected?
I think so, because the other two things that you get out of it when there's 3 and 2 people are basically worthless.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
you aren't going to use 3 people to get an extra vote. That's not going to help you. You already have 3 votes together if you're using
Mhm.
it. And like, it only becomes valuable once you've eliminated the other 2 people. And the fact that all 3 of them made the merge, I think the producers are like, sick. This is exactly what we wanted.
Yeah.
That they're going to be the biggest targets.
I
just
guess
because
I just
they're gonna
kind of
grab each
thought
other.
it was more of trying to create kind of alliances along like across tribe lines, but also give you this dynamic of, okay, you can
I
work
wouldn't-
with
I
them,
wouldn't
you can
trust
have
them,
like an alliance in the merge, like when you merge,
if I'm
but
like,
you can
if
also
I'm
target
Drea and
them.
High, if I'm Drea and High comes up to me and is like, hey, we need to work together because we have these amulets, that's when I assume he's going to backstab me at the next vote.
I think that's fair.
But I guess
Yeah.
that's the
That's what they were hoping
central
for.
strategy
Yeah.
maneuvering that you want to see, right? I think
Yeah.
I think this was one of the better advantages.
Oh,
of the
I-
season,
I
just
agree.
Just because it brought together, because I see nothing wrong with bringing together people from different tribes. We've seen that
Yeah.
as early as
Yeah.
possible in Survivor
And the, with
Exile
the ship
Islands
wheel
and things
island
like
and
that.
shit.
Yeah, exactly. And
Also, it kept an ambulance out of the game for a while, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
yeah,
item.
you know,
Like,
yeah,
because they couldn't put two, they had to keep the 3 Beware ones, but they
Mhm.
weren't going to put another one in because that one was looming overhead and could show up at some point.
right.
So we'll kind
Well,
of touch on how that, I guess, plays into effect later. But for now, we're going to talk about what I think, at least, is probably the best boot of the pre-merge. We're going to talk about Jenny's boot out.
Rob, Queen, Jenny. Jenny was my winner pick at the start of the season. I love Jenny.
I really
She's-
liked her. I think she had a ton of potential. I would
Yeah.
like to see her return. I don't know how likely that is, but I think she was just really
I don't
like
think she's the player
savvy.
that will return, but it makes me sad that she
Yeah.
won't.
Yeah.
I still blame Mike for her hated as well.
Yeah, and I think I blame Daniel, and like mostly for
Yeah,
this.
Daniel's just very
Daniel's
dumb.
just stupid.
We'll get to him later.
So we gotta talk about the what is the thing called, the Beware advantage real quick, because of its
okay.
relevancy here. And
Yeah.
across the 2 seasons, it's been a thing. I despise it.
I liked it even less this season because they didn't make Mike say the phrase.
Yeah, that's true.
Completely different. It was a Beware advantage, except there was no Beware because he didn't have to do what it said.
Yeah, that's fair. I think the dynamic is funny, but I think taking a vote
it's
away
okay.
with Tribes of 6, if they want to keep doing Tribes of 6, I think that's
Uh-huh.
horrible.
Yeah.
And
I
it
think
created
it
this
makes-
situation with this vote out.
I think the pros of this is that a lot of people know where the idols are,
Yeah.
which makes playing around
I feel
the
like
idols.
that's a
fun.
huge negative.
Oh,
to
I
this,
do
though.
too. Like,
I think it's bad for gameplay and like the surprise factor of like someone dropping an idol on everyone. But I think I get where they were going with it. Don't
yeah,
love it.
well, like
When-
I think
But when
we
Mike
get into
knows
the
where the other
merge,
idols are,
like the
and
idols
didn't
have
have
no
this-
purpose. Like especially last season, there's like, okay, this person has an idol, like everyone knows it, and just
yeah. Just don't vote for Xander. Just drag him to the
Yeah,
end.
Well,
exactly.
We know
that's
it's-
that's the so. One is I think. Ow. Shit. Excellent. One, I think the phrases are dumb.
yeah,
Yeah.
they are dumb. They're
Um,
meant
that-
to be
that's
They're
also
dumb.
dumb.
I
I
think
don't think
that
they're as
goes away.
funny as Jeff thinks they are. I don't think they're.
I don't think we have to
entertaining
worry
as Jeff
about them in the
thinks they
future
are.
though.
Yeah.
That only
No,
works when
because
people
they-
don't know that they're coming.
Exactly. I would have much rather these been something more like, you know, the idol is hidden at your camp somewhere.
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
even,
where it's like
something that
risky
happened
to get the
later.
idol with like
Make 'em
I guess
climb a
some of
creepy
what they
up
did
there.
with like Survivor 40 or like the idols
Right.
hidden at challenges.
Or even what they did later in the season with Drea and the red hand thing. I actually kind of
yeah.
thought that was sick. Like I thought that was pretty
Yeah.
cool. Like that should
Yeah.
be what the Beware advantages are, not the fucking. You know what I
No,
mean?
just-
So
Yeah.
we'll get to that. Don't worry about that.
Yeah,
So
don't worry, yeah.
again, it's just one of those things where it's just like it's weird, it's unnecessary, it feels so unnatural from the actual like game. Like it's to me, it's the advantage that not strategically seems the most anti-survivor, but like
It just
on
doesn't feel
face seems the most. It's right, exactly. Like, could you imagine like anyone in any Survivor season, like prior to season 40, like doing those things and like it being seen as
Yeah.
like any form of game? You know what I mean? It just
No,
seems so
no.
anti-normal, and
Yeah.
it
It
seems
makes
so
you-
unnecessary of a
think that
shakeup.
It makes you think the producers were like, all right, we've got this new advantage we cooked up called the knowledge is power. How do we make sure that it works? How about we
Yeah, no,
decide
that's exactly what it
that
seems like.
everyone
It's
knows
really
where the
dumb.
idol-
Right.
so that the
that's another
knowledge
thing
is
we'll have to talk
common
about
knowledge.
later. But
Yeah.
It really
Yeah.
just felt like they were trying to set up certain.
I
Plot.
so I didn't like it, and on
No.
the topic of public idols, I think it makes the strategical viewing pleasure much worse
Yeah.
because idol plays for the last 15 years have been most
been-
exciting when it's a surprise to
Of
those around
course.
them, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason why I don't think we had any
There were no successful
idol
idol
plays
plays
this season
41.
or last season.
Yeah,
Like,
because they
which is
know
one of the
where all the
coolest
fucking
things.
idols are. Like,
Right.
it's just
So instead of idling people out, the new big move has instead being vote someone out with an idol when they least expect it, which is just way
Yeah.
lamer from a viewing
Yeah.
perspective, and it's just
Going
so.
home with idols isn't
I
fun
think
for
it's
anybody.
been done right in the past, but I think it's like
But I'm saying,
way
I'm
less
saying
entertaining to kind
that
of
is
see
being
in
used.
this sense.
That is being used as the replacement.
Yeah,
of,
no,
like,
I
the
think
big
I
move of the
don't
season.
like that
Shan's
either.
boot in 41 or Drea's boot here, symbolized the big
Yeah.
move of the season.
Yeah.
When it was just a fucking vote out, it was no different than the others, but it was
Mhm.
such a big move because both of them had idols.
Yeah,
How
the
risky,
most-
you know what I mean?
The most significant idol of the past 2 seasons was the one that Marianne didn't play.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. No, that was it.
Yeah,
like,
you're
she
not
won
wrong.
the season by
That's-
saying, I am the only one this season to find idol and not tell anyone.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the fuck? Like, that's how I don't know.
Yeah, that's
So-
treated like, I guess it's funny how we've gotten to a point where, like, not using an idol, keeping it. That's a quote unquote
That was a sick move. We'll get to that. That was
Yeah.
a sick move.
It was a
Um,
sick move for
it
Tori in
was.
front of the jury, but
I think it was great,
I don't
at least,
it-
especially how she presented it.
I
but
think
we'll
it
touch on
I
that
think
later.
it speaks to the mechanics of the
Yeah.
season a little bit more.
Yeah.
Marion's actual like strategic play. But yeah, in regards to the Jenny boot,
Yeah.
That was a wild tribal.
Oh yeah.
Wild Tribal
We also have to
Council-
touch on Chanel
I
at
disagree.
Shipwheel Island
well,
for
that's
sure.
what I was
That
just
was-
about. That's what I was just
Yeah.
about to say.
The worst
which
play of the
is
season.
I think that
One
just
of the most
single-handedly shot her game or any chance she
infuriating
had.
things I've
no,
ever
yeah.
witnessed.
And I
Like,
think that basically shifted the power.
it was like, you cannot
Eric
lose your
Reichenbach.
vote. And then, like, the whole, like, I'm not going to play a scared game. And it's like, you
And it's
fucking-
like, you
Everyone
literally
knows you
have
can't
no
risk your
reason to risk it. Why would he save it? He has no
Again,
reason to save
You,
it.
you essentially tell Omar, I can't risk my vote.
And
Therefore,
then
you can risk your vote.
yeah, literally, I don't get that in the slightest.
Right.
And then we get
No.
to the vote where I think Daniel misplays this. I don't know why why
Daniel's
he's
not
as
smart
vocal
either.
as he is.
I'm glad Daniel and Chanel teamed up because I didn't want either of them sticking around.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And they
It's
and they just shifted the power into
Yeah, they
Hai
just
and
gave the
Lydia's
power to
hands. Like
Minority vote.
Daniel just folded like immediately. I think that was very bad.
Which I thought
understand
was great.
people
I,
did
I,
it.
but again, I
Because-
thought it was great TV.
Oh,
Yeah,
100%. That's why it was my favorite
You want
fucking
dumb players.
pre-merge episode.
Yes.
You want dumb players.
I don't want this whole fucking look at me, look how like
I want a
whatever
player
my
who
life
won't lose
is,
the
or also
title.
I'm a huge super fan. Now I'm gonna get voted out, but you're not gonna feel great
Yeah.
about it as a viewer. Like, I felt amazing when Daniel went home, and I felt sad when Jenny went home, but it was entertaining because of the
Yeah.
idiocy of other people. You know what I mean? Like, this is what
Yeah.
Survivor's about, not you know.
Survivor is
it's
about
just
dumb players not getting punished for their stupidity. I agree with that.
or
Yeah.
the opposite. You know what I mean? It's just like I don't. It was such after the Maria, the Jack, and the Jacksons, Zach, and the Jackson situation, where all the
Yeah.
boots were just so underwhelming and so whatever. And again, I think they could have been edited in a way in which they were much cooler.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I
Zach
agree
and
with that.
Maria.
Yeah.
This isn't just
But this was the only
strategics
pre-merge.
of the game.
vote.
Again, this has to do with
Yeah.
the way it's
Yeah.
edited. I think Jenny's was actually edited well, except for the fact that, like, for some
She-
reason the season the edit didn't paint Chanel as a dumb person here, which
Yeah.
like
Which
That
it
was
should have.
odd.
It kind of
It was
focused
so
more on
weird.
Daniel, which I thought that was. I
Well,
mean,
Daniel's
it wasn't
also just-
weird inherently, but I thought it kind of. I thought
Daniel's
Chanel
definitely
should
the
have been
player-
highlighted a little
Daniel's the
more.
player that you put like the clown music on because he like loses the idol and that type of stuff. But it does like you have to try and paint one person in the team as being the smarter one, just
Yeah.
because you don't want a tag team that doesn't know what they're doing
right.
in
right.
the edit. But like neither of them was making good
Oh
plays.
no.
Yeah, this is
But I also
But yeah.
didn't like that. It also that vote revealed that Mike didn't have his vote, and that's supposed to be a
Yeah.
secret. And like that's a problem with your whole right? Or
Yeah,
the
they
word
didn't think
advantage
of everything. Yeah.
that's supposed to be a secret, but now everyone knows that he doesn't have a vote,
Yeah, which
possibly
means he
indefinitely.
knows, like, they know
And also, they
something's
know
up. They know,
yeah,
like, there's a reason why he
people
doesn't
don't
have a
just lose
vote.
votes for no
Yeah.
reason.
Bizarre. Again, a symptom of there just being way too many advantages in the game
Yeah.
to a point that it hurts.
And I
I
want
mean,
Jenny
like, it
back.
hurts. It sucks. Like, Jenny fucking was playing a good game and got
I
caught
think
in the
she was
crossfire.
smarter than
Yeah,
everyone
she
else.
literally.
did.
I think she was 100%. I think Vati's fucking a
She
train
was
Well,
wreck.
she just
clearly
she got
teaming up with
on
the
a
right person, the only
Yeah.
sane person on that tribe. And, like,
I don't know if Mike was very sane either. if
well,
I'm being
okay,
honest.
sane in the sense of he
Relatively
had a
speaking,
Yeah.
sane in the sense that he had the
game
most
awareness.
longevity there.
Yeah.
I
Like,
think-
there
I
was
think he
no
had-
I
justification
was
to wait him
also.
out.
I could
Oh,
say he had the
fuck.
most game awareness, but I don't really. I
was
think you could
very.
make an
That was
argument.
a great episode.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I did very well that
Yeah,
episode.
High was the other one. I would
Yeah.
say I forgot about High, but into like
Because High was a
Daniel, Lydia, Chanel, like they were not
Mhm.
very smart people.
No.
So you know what I mean. So she was smart in who she was teaming up with, and I think I heard
Yeah.
behind the scenes stuff that her and High would just weren't getting along. So
Yeah,
Mike was the correct choice for her in that situation, I guess.
Yeah.
So again, you know, whatever. And then after, but yeah, the Jenny vote was sad, but you know what?
But that was the
It
only
was-
good.
It was
it
sad,
made
but
the
yeah,
season,
it
started
absolutely
getting me to
made
say,
the
okay, maybe
pre-merge.
this season's gonna be solid.
Yeah,
Because,
no,
like,
I
the
think
first
this was
two
kind of the point
episodes
where I
were
was
so
just like
fucking boring.
shocked and kind of ready
We've
to
got
just
some
see.
chaotic characters.
Yeah.
Although I think Tori was also starting to become chaotic at
Yeah.
that point.
And we can kind of segue this into the next
Swati.
boot with Swati.
Yeah.
I
'Cause that one
think
was between.
I think this is
Swati.
really where Tori becomes a chaotic presence because she's kind of on the outside, and I think I know Swati wanted to make a move versus Drea, and she just kind of flipped that over, and it ended up.
Yeah, that I just felt early.
Yeah, no,
Like-
I thought Swati had a lot of potential in the game, but I
Yeah,
think she just
I
kind
didn't
of.
like her.
It was another super fan.
Yeah,
archetype.
absolutely.
Young
I just
super
thought she
fan.
was in a good position, at least from what I could
Yeah,
see.
I think she kind of threw away her game.
Yeah,
which is
I
what
think
happened.
she kind of made just a big move when she literally had no reason
I mean, to be fair, Drea was the person that needed a big move to take him out.
Oh,
because
yeah,
Drea
absolutely.
had all the advantages ever invented.
But I don't think it was,
Not at
I
that
guess,
point.
really necessary, yeah, especially
No, I
this
think
early.
making big moves in the pre-merge are just bad because you're not going
Yeah.
to get credit for them even if you do make it to the
Yeah,
end.
and no one really cares about the pre-merge in a sense.
And I think you want to keep smart players around if you're
Yeah.
going into the merge.
And I think Tori just found like an opportunity to kind of save herself with this.
Which was smart of her. And
Oh,
you know
I
what?
think Tori's the most interesting player of the season.
I
Just between
really, yeah, I agree. I think that the Ika tribe was obviously the least interesting of the three tribes from
I
the
would
experience,
agree with that.
but
for
I did
sure.
appreciate that it was being told from Tori's perspective because that like it was an editing choice that I thought made a lot of sense because
Yeah,
I think that if it was told through, you know, Romia's perspective or Swati's perspective, it would have just been so much less
or like
exciting
Drea's
or
perspective.
interesting. I loved seeing it through the perspective of the person on the outs rather than
Oh yeah,
you know that dominant
I
group.
think that was very cool to see.
Again,
sure.
just because Tori,
Like-
I like how the
Romeo and
editing
Drea-
recognized Tori was the most interesting character.
Well, she was the only character in the group. Like Drea
Yeah,
and Romeo
everyone
were
else was kind of
very-
robotic.
yeah robotic. Yeah, Drea and I guess Roxroy maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Kind of.
The one thing I
Insignificant-ish.
will touch on in Swati's vote that also applies to the next boo, which is Daniel, and I'm just bringing this to speed things up a bit.
Uh-huh.
Since
Yeah,
we're still
yeah.
on the pre-merge, is because I have the same comment for these two. These were again, I think, boots that could have been edited in such a satisfying way for the episode, but
Yeah.
weren't. Like Daniel's boot should have been a lot more interesting to me. Swati's boot should have been a lot more interesting. But again, they were prefaced, whether it was in the actual episode or an episode prior, with these sob stories, you know what I mean, about their lives and things like that. And it's like the Swati stuff with, you know, her family and her all of this, the successes with our family and things like that. She's like, I'm gonna do big things and blah 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 blah. And then she gets voted out, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, it's like so unsatisfying. If the episode was more so focused on like a broader, of that compilation of her being snaky to people, then the episode would have been way more interesting. Same goes for Daniel. Like, again, this isn't me.
It just
blaming
feels like a
don't
Daniel
weird
as much as the
juxtaposition
producers,
with
But
like.
when Daniel was doing all this stupid shit, and the producers were like milking it, and then like literally 30 seconds later, Daniel's like, I have leukemia, and then it goes into the
No,
sob stories with like photos and
we
the
felt
sad music in the
weird
background.
to-
It's like after all, like it was so awkward and so strange, and I don't know, like, it just doesn't mesh.
It doesn't-
You know what I mean?
yeah.
It
Yeah,
doesn't mesh.
absolutely.
Like, could you imagine if in Survivor Samoa, like, I don't know, like Russell got a sob story or something like that about like, how his dad left him or something. I have no idea, just like something crazy like that.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
he
yeah.
starts being like the manipulative person that he was in that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's so. Survivor
It
is
doesn't-
a social experiment. It's a microcosm of society, etc., etc. I will agree with all of that. But the way that things are edited together in a way that combines the like strategy, I feel like you cannot like put the comedic parts of Survivor and the really sob story parts of Survivor
Yeah.
together, like how they did in the editing and the premiers this season, and the vote outs be any bit satisfying. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's just-
no, I agree.
It's like, what do you
think it
want us
just
to feel
felt
about the man
weird.
getting voted out?
like
yeah.
pre-merge boots are supposed to be like this fucking idiot and so
Yeah.
satisfying. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But
They
it's
had
like-
us thinking that
They're just
Like-
supposed to be
like,
kind of
well, he
flame
absolutely
outs or
deserved
just
to be
kind of
booted,
deserved
but also
obvious
that
usually.
feel
Yeah, again, it's like so. Like it brings me back to like some of the early Survivor seasons. Pre-merge boots are just these
Yeah,
idiots
just
who don't know how to
insignificant
play, right?
people.
But the
Yeah.
episode is showing how much of fucking idiots they are in this time, instead of just being like, oh, fucking BB, who was the old man evacuated in season 1 or whatever, has a bunch of grandkids that he loves and blah 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 blah. No, it showed him being like a cranky old man and then getting voted out because of it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's just
It just felt
Again,
like a
maybe they just
weird
wanted to
decision to
TV,
kind of see play out.
because there have been lots of forgettable pre-merge players in the past. They're like,
Yeah.
you know what'll make them real memorable? Cancer.
So my final takeaway from the pre-merge, is with just all the boots, is that the Jenny boot was the only one that I gave any two shits about.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because a good player, and also bear in mind, out of all the players who got booted out this season, the one we felt saddest about was Jenny, and she was the one who didn't have a sob story outside
Yeah,
of
yeah.
the
Yeah.
tribe. You know what I mean? So again, it just goes to show that, I think that the editing was a little weird for the pre-merge. I
Mhm.
think the post-merge, which we'll talk about soon, was very, very good, but the pre-merge I thought was strange, which is
Yeah.
It's
what
'cause none of
lowers
us
I think
the
that's
reason made it
great
through
reason.
lowers
somehow.
the season for me a little bit in
Mhm.
hindsight,
Yeah.
But that's my final takeaway from the pre-merge aspect of things.
Well, technically, Lydia was also pre-merged.
that's
technically,
true.
yes.
Because they merged
I
and
think
then
we can
dumped
kind
her
of
on the-
talk about that a little bit. I think we can
I
kind
think
of
that- yeah,
segue
that's
that
what we
with
move on to
merge
now.
because it's
hate this merge
the
twist.
weird thing where they're like
First, yeah.
kind of merged, but
Get rid of the hourglass
They-
twist.
Just say it's a
Yeah,
fucking
Hourglass
merge.
Plus
I don't know why they
pointless.
don't. But
the
Hourglass
hourglass
twist-
they made the
twist is
numbers for the-
pointless and just
I assume
kind
it's
of.
just so that they have a good number for the jury. Like,
I guess, yeah.
again, that episode was fucking weird because of how like Roxroy was like perceived as this over the top negative type player, and then all of a sudden he gets the Hourglass twist, and all of a sudden he's like, another like
I
character
do-
you're supposed to have, that's supposed to pull on your heartstrings for some
Yeah.
reason.
I liked seeing him get the. I just thought it was funny because like
It was
Yeah, I at least
Genuinely.
appreciate the fact that they didn't try and be like, oh, will they smash the hourglass? Like, everyone
yeah.
knows.
No, I think it's dumb
gonna
because
smash
it's
the
literally
hour.
like yeah, they literally have no reason not to.
I'm always very
Yeah.
curious if that episode is planned to be a two-parter or not. Like a
Yeah,
41
I think it
because
was
there's
last
so much,
season, but if they didn't, I don't
yeah,
know.
I wonder if it's because of that backlash they received. But
Yeah, I hope
Um,
it was. That was stupid.
yeah, the Hourglass twist is dumb. It shouldn't come back. I feel like there's not
Mhm.
much else to be said about it. Like I think it's just ruins the integrity of the game, and it
Favorite
It's
you
just
know.
inherently like pointless. I think it's just
is my
fucking
favorite season
over
40.
certain
My
people.
favorite season 41 player, Danny,
Danny,
said, "Don't lie
yes.
to your players."
Yeah.
That's a
I
fair
think that's
like
the core
that's
of it.
literally punishing a group of players for no reason. Like
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's a broader theme of a lot of the stupid random advantages this
yeah,
season, like this,
Well, and like
punishing a
or
group
whatever. It
without
just seems
really
to be
having them
there.
have control.
It
And
just
the
seems to be
primary
there
purpose.
for the sake of being there. It doesn't
Well, I think the
seem
primary
to.
purpose of twists is to help the underdogs, but this is
Yes.
a twist that punishes underdogs because
Yeah,
if you
and
still
I
try,
just think
you're
that
still more
seems
likely to stay in the minority.
whack.
Well, either punishes underdogs or just doesn't provide any sort of help for anyone whatsoever, as opposed to just like a little
It just
bit of like
should be there for
time being wasted on the TV. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
and
a
also,
time
like-
suck. It's a total time suck.
Yeah.
And merge votes are always the most interesting. Like this was the one where there were 12 players in the tribe. That's the most interesting because you
Mhm.
have the potential
Because
for
you
a
have
6v6.
yeah, and you just have all these people
Yeah, I
kind
don't
of
like how they
meeting
do that
for the
anymore.
first time, just kind of scrambling
Yeah,
to.
why do you want us to be in a 6v5 situation going?
And
into
I
merge?
think I think Lydia getting booted here is super interesting at least. I know
Yeah.
I thought it
Vati was in a wacky little. I don't even know how to describe like what position they were in, but we kind of saw people like Drea and Omar and kind of band together all these like people that just kind of grab. I think it was like the majority with like. I think it was what Drea, Omar, Jonathan,
It was
This
High.
was
just
the
a
one where-
it was just a dominant alliance.
Yeah.
Was this the one where Romeo got left out of the group? Is that
Yeah,
what
Yeah,
for like
that
no
is good.
reason, despite him
Yeah.
being Drea's like probably number
They're
one
like-
ally.
Paranoid.
She just
Because
like,
we're not-
nah, fuck Romeo. Which
I
is
will
really
say-
weird because I think he
I
was
feel-
in a good spot on his initial
Yeah.
tribe, but like.
And it's not because of his top story status.
Yeah.
I will
It's
say,
because, like,
I did appreciate the Lydia boot from the social mechanics of it, with Omar flipping the vote last minute and High
Yeah.
being forced to vote against his ally. I think it exposed that the Vati tribe wasn't as very smart as
Mhm, Or
they
it
were
was,
kind of
it was
portraying
just
in
kind
the
of
pre-merge and
fractured and kind of.
fractured and not as
Yeah.
good and things like that. You know, what I feel a little iffy about, again, is this hourglass twist, but outside of the hourglass twist being the hourglass twist, I also don't like the fact that it's between 5 people
Yeah.
Yeah,
in the final merge. That seems so...
you have 12 players and 7 of them are immune.
Yeah, I don't like that. So, that's my take.
Yeah, it's just a dangerous position because it means like there's good odds that a popular player is going home in that situation. Because the merge is when people start saying, "Oh, we need this." And
Mhm.
it's one of those ones where usually a player like Jonathan is the one that's probably going to go home. And people don't want to see Jonathan go home. At least the
Yeah.
general Survivor audience.
Mm-hmm. The other thing, too, is I want to see a 12-person community challenge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the fun ones. I think they're just trying to save money on the community
Maybe.
challenges.
Who knows?
I feel like the I mean, I feel
But they
like
did
the
bring back-
individual challenges probably
not.
quite cost less.
They
I
did
don't
bring back Applebee's though.
Can I make a comment on the
True.
individual immunity challenges? I think
Yeah.
it's probably
They
a little
what-
too early to...
What they were
I
like
feel like they were all
reused.
so... They were reused, for one. They were all...
Yeah.
The only one I really cared for was the final 5 one, which was another classic, but it was a bit
Which
more
one was
active.
it? The
It was like the obstacle course.
Oh yeah. No,
Yeah.
I really like what the
Love
like
that
the
one.
yeah the
The one with
All the other
stations
ones,
and the puzzle.
all the other ones, it just felt like I was watching a rerun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other annoying thing about it too is that they're like all balance challenges. Like that's
Yeah. I feel like it
not
was
very
kind of
exciting after a certain amount of time. Like there's
Yeah.
so many things that are no longer
And
here
they're not even
anymore.
the fun
I-
challenges. Like have someone stand on a pole for 12 hours. That's fun.
the,
Because
the
it-
fucking
Exactly.
the
That's
fucking
what's down.
Ian Tom situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I
They're,
mean,
like,
I feel like
Christian
that's just kind of
Crawford.
the like where they've been going. I would like to see them do different things, especially, but I don't know. That's just kind
I
of
don't understand why they.
I
why
don't
they-
either. That's
I
just
think
kind
they've
of
run out of
whatever.
creativity
Maybe.
and money. They're trying to make it cheaper by doing the same.
Yeah.
sets.
Yeah.
And I guess I
Because
can
when
kind of
you're-
understand COVID kind of being an
I
excuse
also
for
think
that.
it's because
But
now that
like,
they're not switching location every year, they don't have to make new stuff if they
I
don't
guess
want
so.
to.
Well, and they're keeping the 26 days, and they're,
Mhm.
I don't mind that. Like,
I don't mind it
Hopefully they-
either, but again, it's just like, if you are saving money on not having 13 days of production, right? Like,
Just
yeah.
you might
let's
as well
see some cool
go
challenges,
out a little
not
bit.
like,
Yeah.
people building fucking sandcastles with their feet, or, the
Bring
same
back the
fucking...
kite
Oh yeah,
challenge
no,
from season
the
two, or build a kite and fly it. I want to bring
Yeah.
that challenge.
I don't know.
I would like to see some kind of
SOS.
new.
SOS.
Yeah,
Dying.
SOS would be cool to see in a like a modern season. But yeah, like all of them were kind of balanced. All of them were literally shit I've seen in the last like 3-4 seasons.
Yeah,
Like-
it was weird that they had so many balanced ones.
Like I
and
swear
then
to God, almost all of the challenges I think I saw in like Winners at War or like something
Yeah.
like that, or like Cambodia, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Don't
But
bring back the auction though. I always didn't like the auction that much.
I thought it was
Everyone is like,
interesting,
"Oh, I missed the
but
auction."
I don't
I didn't
really
care.
think it needs to come back either.
Bring back the gross foods challenge. I hated that one too, but it's still fun.
I think one of my
I want to see
best
people eat gross
memories
stuff.
is China, Survivor China, and just
Yeah.
Denise, like them trying to like throw that, Denise literally
Yeah.
being unable to fucking eat the
Yeah, just a little bit of variety. That's all we need.
yeah.
All right, now the first jury member, Chanel.
Chanel. I mean, I think this was kind of.
I
think this was
but
kind of a clear, like a little.
it was so clear cut.
Yeah,
was so
it
clear
felt
cut.
weird
they had
to be the
11 people.
merge boot or
It-
technical
no.
merge boot.
But there's a reason why it was one of my favorite boots of the season, which is that unlike some of the pre-merge boots, it was actually handled very
Oh,
well.
yeah.
There wasn't like a
Yeah.
lot of sob story. I loved the comedic scenes where she kept trying to go up to the
Oh yeah, and they
club,
just kept
and they were
going
all like,
fishing.
just go fishing. Like,
Yeah.
obvious is okay if it's
Yeah.
handled right.
Mhm.
And I
It
felt
felt
like there was
good.
so much dancing around in the editing in the first few parts where they were trying to say, oh, we're going to create a story for this character and maybe we're going to keep them or we're going to, compliment them about how great they are. And then I was, whatever. I loved this because everyone was like, don't relate Chanel, don't trust her, she's a snake.
We're not-
And
we don't know
are
how
not
to pretend.
strategizing with her and walking away from her. And then she went home. It was great. It was
Yeah.
wonderful. Like I thought it was a great, it wasn't as strategic. If you want to call this the merge episode, I don't know, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
if this is the merge episode and not the Lydia one, I thought it was a fine episode as far as merge.
Because a
votes
lot of the
go.
merge
It
votes
wasn't as-
are just everyone dogpiling on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's either that or dogpile, and I'm glad that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Except for Romeo throwing a vote at Hyatt. That was fun. I
Yeah,
enjoyed
that was funny. And then like, Hai coming
And then
back.
saying, no,
really
it wasn't me.
and that started the streak of
Yeah.
Romeo's
Definitely
That was my
elite
favorite.
voting.
That's when I started liking Romeo a lot more. Because I didn't really care
I
about
think
him.
I just remembered like who was just saying who the hell voted.
yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone knows it's Romeo.
Yeah.
It's like,
Eventually,
You know,
like, figures it
It's
out.
it's also during this episode that we're seeing things like the Jonathan and Mike coming together and
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just
people,
kind of
like-
seeing these kind of
Yeah,
pairs or just
certain
these
groups start to pair
people
up, a
start
little bit more.
to.
there's a powerhouse.
One of my big
Yeah.
disappointments, though, was like this Romeo and Hyde situation. I thought it was really beautiful, like how they,
Yeah.
Yeah.
came together and
Yeah.
were talking about certain things
Yeah.
strategically. But again, it was so awkward because it was like,
They,
Oh,
like
by
they
the
would
way,
talk,
this
they would
10
have this kind of
minute
heartfelt
here's a very
conversation,
here's a
but
very
then
in-depth conversation about
target.
like being LGBTQ and being
and
queer
like having
and
different
being on
like
TV and all this
experiences.
stuff. Having different experiences, cool conversation. 15 minutes
And then
later,
you won't
you're
find out
throwing-
until-
They're yelling at each other.
what the fuck? Like, it's just so chaotic
Yeah.
and so. It didn't seem clear what their relationship was. was, and I felt
Mhm.
that way about a lot of relationships
And
here
then you have
because it
like
was
Jonathan and Mike, and it's just like we're the two big dudes, we're best friends, and it's
it was
just like
Jonathan
they
and
are
Mike.
the best friends the
You
entire
know,
rest of the season.
one of my biggest frustrations is like the Jonathan Lindsay relationship throughout the season.
Yeah.
Apparently, was like full of drama and full of stuff like that. I would have loved to see that developed, but instead it was just implied until
Yeah.
Yeah,
Lindsay's
that was
food
one of the
episode that they were just like
It was just
super
kind of
cool, you know what I
like
mean? And it was just like there were so
subtly
many.
implied
make
that they
Jonathan
were
look
just
Yes.
targeting each other.
There were so many, and again, I know that they only have a certain amount of time, so you can't show every relationship. But if you're gonna show certain relationships, the nature of those relationships should be clear and not confusing,
And not like
without
up to
understanding.
someone's interpretation of like how they, I guess.
Well, also,
Yeah.
it
perceive
felt like
it.
they were scared to show Jonathan being an asshole, despite the fact that everyone post season said he was an asshole. And like they've had players in the past, like was it Scott and Co Wrong that
Yeah.
everyone
Yeah.
hated him, and showed him being an asshole. And like
And I
all the
don't
players
know
are like,
why, but I've always
Jonathan
thought
is
this about
misogynistic,
Scott and
will do.
Jason, but I've always like really liked them, even though they kind
No,
of
I hated it.
they were always
you
edited
like
in a
you like to hate them. Is the point,
Exactly.
you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
That's
And
why
I feel like
hate
there's
Jonathan,
so many
like-
they were
people
edited in a
in
way
this
to
season. There's so many people in this season who could be edited to be antagonists.
yeah.
Daniel,
But they just
Roxroy,
weren't, and then
even Tori, even Omar, even
It's
Jonathan.
like they wanted
Yeah.
people. It's like they did the same thing to Jonathan they did to
Yeah, but
Xander
they wanna
last
make him
season.
feel
They
so
play differently,
great.
but they want people to think that he's gonna like have a good shot at winning,
Bizarre.
despite the fact that no one in the game thinks they have any chance.
yeah, and it just
Right.
felt weird from an editing perspective. Like why
Yeah.
There was
why
just so
show
many
this person with a
inconsistent
chance of
narratives.
winning if they really
I
don't?
want to see Jonathan sue you guys for defamation.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just my perspective on a lot of the editing in this season is off. I
Mhm.
think that there's too many inconsistencies of relationships and the actual narratives of people. I think that there's too much dancing around in terms of like people's personalities. Like, this is reality television, this is what they signed up for. Like, Survivor should be like exposing these people to their core. Like, you know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
really care about their personal stories. You know, like, I'm trans. I did not feel a closer connection to Jackson than I did to anyone else just because of like their sob story. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't
And
seem,
I think
seems like
it
a
kind
time
of took
suck.
away. Yeah, I think it kind of took away from time they could have been using to, instead
Actually
of
develop
giving them a
characters.
sob story, yeah,
Or
just
show
develop their
funny
character.
fucking moments like
Yes.
they used to in past seasons. Just show funny camp life situations.
They did
That-
do a better job this season than they did last season at that.
They-
Because like this
Yeah.
season, I still remember like one where Jonathan was monkey crawling.
Yeah, and like
It can't-
Marianne
But that was like
being
a
a
20
fucking
second
slasher
clip.
villain.
Yeah, that was like a 20-second
Yeah.
clip. I'm talking more about like I think this is gonna be a season 41 example, but I think season 41 also failed at this outside of this example. Like the Papaya Gate situation. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
shit like that happens every single day at camp, but they're leaving those kinds of things out. Which
I
is
I think
so
they did a
weird.
really good job of it with, I mean, it was Winners at War, but I guess like Tony's ladder and
Exactly.
like the fucking shark, stuff like
Exactly. I want stuff like
that. Where
that.
it kind of,
and
it
it's
was
just-
like,
it's being replaced with the stupid advantages, the stupid Shipwheel Island, the backstories, and again these confusing narratives. And
yeah.
the
Just
It's
give us 2 hours a week if you're gonna do that. Please.
Mhm.
yes, agreed. If you're gonna do that, give us 2 hours a week, but don't replace the actual fucking like what life is like.
Yeah,
at
it just
camp
takes
element of
away
Survivor,
from
because
the episode entirely.
yeah, to me it's less interesting if it's purely a strategical game, right? I'll watch
Yeah.
Big Brother if I want to see that, you know what I mean? Or I'll
Yeah.
watch,
Yeah.
but I want to see the Survivor aspect to it. I want to see the
Yeah.
we're outdoor in a camp aspect of it. I want to see
It's
them.
definitely lost the survival aspect. And just
Yeah.
gone, oh, they don't need food, and that's it.
Yeah.
Do we
Like-
want to move on to the double boot episode?
Oh,
now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
can. Yeah.
I'll stop complaining.
It's fine. It's fine. It's totally justified.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because the Rockford boot did feel like a older season of Survivor, and I think it's because Rockford was the focus. But like the
Yeah.
whole vote out the week, but the weak players are going to be like, well, I'm the next weak player, so
Yeah.
I don't want to follow that. And they flipped it
Yeah.
on the person that was trying to lead that
Yeah.
charge.
I think
And
the
I love
whole
those
thing with Roxroy, I don't remember all of the episode. I think they were just trying to say,
targeting
hey,
Romeo.
let's just target, yeah.
But then Hai was like, well, I'm a weak boy, so I also don't want to go along with this.
And I kind of think they wanted to target kind of like I think they just wanted to have like a safe vote.
Yeah, and Romeo was the obvious safe vote, but Roxroy is a safe vote that is potentially going to mess you up later in the game. Because everyone was like,
Yeah.
Romeo, he's not going to do anything. Like, who
Right.
cares if Romeo's still here?
Yeah. And I liked the
But that-
Roxroy vote because it shook up the game a bit, because it seemed like it was about to be like not a pagonging in
Yeah.
the sense that like
Yeah.
we had the same tribe, but it did seem like there was just a very clear boot order. So
Also, I
liked
don't
that
like
the shake up.
his men are dumb, and
Yeah.
they're not fun. But it also mixed up the next vote because that was the whole Drea
Yeah, the whole
tribal.
Drea.
I really
yeah.
like
I really did too.
because the pattern of when one black player goes, the rest of them follow. That is absolutely a thing that I've noticed. in the
Oh,
past.
100%. I thought that
And
made
so
a lot
I
of sense.
love that one. I liked that they both had idols that they were able to play because it
Yeah.
does like we weren't going home regardless. Like this
Yeah.
isn't just us trying to get out of this because there were a ton of people online that were still upset. But it's like, well, they played an idol. Like I don't know how you can still be upset about them saying
Yeah.
that. Oh, we're
Yeah.
only doing it because it's actually a thing.
Yeah. Like I think
I
it
didn't
would have
like-
been more reasonably controversial if like Drea like was like
If she
I
saw
don't
that and then
know.
didn't.
if she said it and then didn't play her idol, but just from a purely gameplay perspective, she's just gonna like voice
Like,
her
it was
perspective and
all
then be
felt
like, I'm gonna play an
entirely
idol to make sure I don't go home. Like
Yeah, it felt entirely genuine. Like
Yeah.
those are the moments that I think I appreciate the most is when players are just talking outside of the game.
I will say
And
my
not-
one frustration with the tribal, because this is Tori's vote out, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
My one frustration with the tribal is the lack of voting at that tribal, because
Yeah, I agree.
it opened up a potential
It
floodgate
Tori-
that could happen in the future that I think is very dangerous,
Oh,
because
true.
if you are basically saying discuss someone to go home, because it wasn't technically clear whether it was Lindsay or Dre or Lindsay
Lindsay or Tori, right?
or Tori, and you know it also
for that-
put Drea
Yeah,
and
and
Marianne
also-
in a weird
yeah, they were the
position
only two
where
options, yeah.
it also put Drea and Marianne in a position where
Yeah.
they were able to like play idols before the voting happened, which was like super against
Yeah.
sort of like certain rules and things like that. And it's almost like but like here's the thing is Jeff was like, so are you two gonna play your idols? And then
Yeah,
they're like,
yeah, I did
I
like
guess
that.
we have to go up and play our idols, you know what I mean?
I have no
Like,
problem with
that's
the
your-
player
the votes.
playing their idol before the vote because I think it's just a bad strategic play most of the time because you want to negate votes, not redirect them. But I do think that I agree with you on the aspect of these discussions and just voting out loud is a bad idea
yeah,
because
that
I can
was
see
that
situations
was
where if you're the second option, you just want to make people say, oh, I guess we'll just vote now because people are
Right.
a lot less likely to go against you
well
if you're
the
saying
other
let's vote out.
the other thing that happened there too was the situation with the shot of the dark. The fact that votes weren't done is Jeff was like, okay,
Yeah.
decide who's gonna go home, and they're like, okay, we've
Jeff
decided.
And
definitely
Tori.
she, yeah,
and
she
then
had no
Tori's like,
reason not
and then
to
Tori's like,
just
well, I
do
want to
that.
play the shot in the dark then if I'm gonna go
Yeah.
home. And they were like, oh shit,
Jeff
yeah, the
100%
shot in the
forgot
dark.
about it.
Yeah.
So now poor Lindsay is in a situation.
Lindsay's in
where
a situation
you
where
know,
she,
she might go
can,
home on a 1 in
she
6
might,
chance.
yeah,
It
without
Tori
is
was
like,
still
this-
gonna play it regardless, so like in
But
that aspect.
You never
But
know.
in the
You know what I
future-
mean?
but
You don't know.
she 100% does here. Like she literally has no
It's,
reason not
it's
to
a very
because
bad
of
standard set of
Yeah.
vocal vote.
But if that vocal, you know, who's gonna go home here thing didn't happen, if it was just like, okay, it's time to vote after the conversation with like Drea and Marianne talking about, of course, the racial issues and within Survivor, and it's
Mhm.
like, okay, well, it's time to vote, and then the voting happens, and then Drea and Marianne have the option to play their idols, you know,
Yeah.
they do. I don't know whether Tori would have played the shot in the dark, and even if you're sitting here
Well, I
and saying
think it
she would
would've
have
given
done
her
it
the
either
opportunity.
way, even if you're
Could have
sitting
at
here
least
saying
said,
she
I'm
would,
going to play the shot in the dark to make people more cautious about throwing all the votes at her.
yeah.
yeah. but whether she actually does or doesn't, I think that discussion thing opens up a door to another situation in which, say, it's a 50-50 whether Tori and Lindsay go home. And now if they're having a conversation and one of the two realizes it's them and not the other person, and then they say we're going to play the shot in the dark, it screws the other person. And I think it eliminates the strategic part of the
Yeah.
I think it was just poorly handled by
fair.
it was just it was strategically it was poorly handled. I agree. So that's my one gripe with it. I think it was a little awkward. I'm glad that the shot in the dark failed, but
Yeah.
again, that's not an issue with the
That
shot
one
in the dark.
did fail. That would have been.
If that
Yeah.
one failed, I think that would have just been.
You think they just stacked that pot with all not safes? Just in case.
You think they just forgot the safe?
Yeah.
They basically left it out. They're like,
I don't
this is gonna
know.
look.
Yeah.
No, they didn't, because like
No,
they also forgot the shot in the dark was a thing.
Yeah. So definitely an interesting episode
But also,
there.
after Tori's vote, every single vote out after this is an insane.
Is insane. Yeah, absolutely.
It's just right after.
I think
Okay.
right after this is probably the best stretch
When the
of
season ramps up.
episodes.
It goes from
yeah.
not 0 to 100, but it goes to
Pretty
100.
close.
It becomes really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that, we start out with Hyde's vote out here, and I really love this. I think this kind of shows Omar's just elite social game.
Oh,
at least.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, this wasn't the first time that he single-handedly swung a
Oh
vote.
no, but this was kind of the
That-
most like obvious and like most like
This was his
apparent that it was his.
Yeah.
Like,
He was a great decoy winner, I will say.
I
mean,
absolutely.
He was arguably a better decoy winner than Shan.
Oh no, I think
last
he was a
season.
better
Because everyone
decoy
knew
winner
Shan was
than
for the
Shan.
entire season. This one, at least from the edit, it looked like no one thought Omar was behind everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. I
Because he was really good at only approaching one or two people to change the plan, and then they'd go out and do it for him.
I think I don't think I ever thought Shan was. I thought Ricard was always the winner, at least for
Yeah, that,
like
just
a
because
while
Shan was
over.
so obvious.
Yeah,
Omar
exactly.
Didn't even give off the obvious.
Yeah,
they did it.
that's what I was thinking. Like I thought he just had this level of control.
Yeah.
That wasn't
It
really
was
like
one of those
it just
dominant
felt like
games.
he was legit just the puppet master. Like he had all these strings on everyone.
I
but,
was also
like, they
giving that
weren't
energy
aware.
earlier in the season. In pre-merge, like I felt like he could be a potential winner
Yeah.
just because he was also able to just completely influence votes.
I think
Mhm.
he had very very good game sense. I think. I
think he was confident.
Yeah,
I think
oh,
that-
absolutely. I think he was kind of. I don't really think, like what Omar said. I think it was believable at least to
Yeah.
Mike to make him.
Oh wait, yeah, this was the one where Mike was told that he was a puppet. That was I
Yeah.
forgot.
And I mean,
Mike
I
was
think
so-
that kind of.
I never respected Mike the entire season. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't think Mike was ever gonna win it. He felt like to me like
I didn't
Tiffany
really
last
think that
season.
he would
I
win
think it was
it.
good
I thought
TV,
there
though.
were. I didn't think he
Oh,
would
yeah,
win it.
yeah.
I thought there were scenarios where he would win it, which
I thought-
for
yeah,
part
that was-
of it
I
I
thought-
thought
yeah.
might play out. Like
He gave me
I
the
honestly
energy of
thought
least
we could have
intelligent
seen
Victor.
I honestly thought
Is
we
it-
could have seen a like Jonathan Romeo Mike final three
Yeah,
for a
yeah,
little bit.
yeah. Yeah, he had the potential to be one of the least intelligent winners of all time. Where I'd still say, yeah, they deserve to win that absolutely.
Yeah.
like
I think
I
he
was
had
still- I
at
was
least
always
some
bitter about, like,
agency
getting-
for the kind of like player
Yeah.
he was at least. I think he was probably better than
yeah, he was just
good amount of
he was
the-
the one emotional player left in the game at this point.
But I like that.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah, no,
I really liked him, of course. But yeah, I mean, I think
He was
the high
very much a
boot
puppet.
kind of set
I
up
was
for all of these just plays
I was the
that kind of
switch to the
revealed.
or running through the game, even if they weren't necessarily working together the rest of the game. Like high going out means that it's 4-3 at that point, and that was very important, I think.
Yeah. I think this was just the optimal move for Omar, and then also him kind of
It
keeping
felt like an optimal
Haku
move for most people besides
Yeah.
Drea.
Well, I think it was a optimal move for literally everyone, but Drea, Romeo,
we're
no
with
one
Ro-
cares.
they're the
Mike is
board.
kind of I don't know about Mike. He's just kind of
Yeah,
with
Mike
them,
Dewey.
but also not. not in a sense. But then we get to Drea.
Dre getting sent home made me very sad
Yeah.
because she felt like she confused me because she felt like the most aware player, in that she was the one that I thought would realize if she was being targeted, and she just didn't.
Yeah, no, I feel like that
any
kind of
other
happens
player-
a lot with these.
She was a player that I thought wouldn't get blindsided like everyone. I thought everyone else was openly blindsided except for her, and then she was completely blindsided.
Yeah.
It's
Also,
one of those
she had
weird
all the-
things that makes me question the casting for this season, because I love Drea. She was my winner pick.
Yeah.
I wanted her to win, but there's so many players here who are framed as these strategic masterminds, and then
Yeah.
they just go out in the most
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
dumb ways.
Yeah,
Like, not ways that are like really. I don't think these are like really well thought out plans, as much as it's
No.
just like let's
And
gather
I
some
feel like
numbers,
they
and then the other person
should
doesn't see it
at
coming.
least like
Well, because
yeah, they
it
should
was
at
like
least have
everyone
some
knew she had to
semblance
go
of
soon
knowing.
because she had 30
Yeah.
advantages.
Right. And again, but like again, her telling Omar about knowledge is power.
I just
was, like,
don't think
so
that's a good plan.
fucking
I don't think you
weird.
can ever. And
Why would
we
you
can talk
do
about
that?
knowledge is power on that. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
the worst thing you can do with this advantage is tell literally
someone else.
anyone.
No, it's a literal broken advantage if you
Yeah,
if you don't tell anyone, and the
anyone.
idols are public. right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's stupid, but like the people that have had them are just stupid and just
Yeah.
tell people.
Again, and it's the same pattern that we saw with Shan last season too, where she was framed as this amazing player, but then she told everyone about Liana's advantage, which
Yeah.
of course
Yeah.
made the thing go off here. I think the history repeated itself here, where a player who is framed as so strategic and so smart and so calculated throughout the entire season, we just kind of, I'm gonna tell
Just
Omar.
kinda,
You know what I mean?
Just
It's
kind of
just
makes
like,
one, or
on the-
not inherently one, but like just makes decisions
wasn't even,
that
like-
just lead
like,
to.
This season, because we've had the knowledge is power failed twice, and this season it
Right.
didn't even feel like anyone made a great play to dodge her knowledge is
Yeah.
power. It was kind
Yeah.
of just like, oh yeah.
It was just
Omar
like the
can-
obvious thing.
It starts to just make me wonder if these are situations where these players are very smart and of course survivor obsessed, like we mentioned at the start of this, and are just flaming out because they're mentally exhausted or they are trying to overplay,
Yeah.
or if this is an editing thing and like maybe these players aren't as good as like we're seeing in
Yeah,
the first
yeah.
few episodes. You know what I mean? I just have no idea. But it's again seemingly so awkward. Like
Mhm.
even even the next boot, which we'll talk about later, like, you know, it just seems like the out of these later players, like the stretch of 3 players, Drea being the second of the 3,
Yeah.
are these 3 players who are seen as these immaculate players, these really good players, that just go in such a like an
Yeah.
underwhelming, unsatisfying, like bizarre way, and it's like,
The one positive of the knowledge is power this season. Love how they hit it with the red paint. That was something that was creative.
Yes.
It was new and it was fun.
Yeah.
we talked about
I think
that. I
that was
loved
nice.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what the Beware advantage should be. I feel like.
Yeah, I think
Mhm.
that's a really good call. That they should just make the beware advantage, have them,
Just
get covered in red paint or something very
or
obvious.
just do something that like gives
The
you the
old
risk
sneak out in the
of
middle of the
revealing.
night.
Yeah.
I didn't like the sneak out in the middle of the night because it never failed. Like
Really
it was never like
mattered.
you never thought they were
What-
actually gonna get
But
that.
what I would actually like about the Beware advantages, and I guess this might already be set in stone because of the knowledge is power situation, is that, you know, now in future seasons, if people see people with paint on their
Yeah.
hands or something like that, they're gonna start
Yeah.
thinking about things, crazy blood or whatever. Like,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know, again, I think that's
Also with the
better
Beware
than
advantage,
a public phrase.
haven't-
It relies on people actually having like perception towards
Yeah.
things, you
Or
have to
like
hide
connecting just connecting the dots.
yeah,
and
you have to
just
hide
seeing-
something from
Yeah.
people. You don't have to publicly say something. So I much prefer that as a way to find the idol. I hope Knowledge is Power doesn't return. My fear with it is that I think Jeff loves it, and my other fear with it is that
Well, I
It
feel
will
like
work,
Jeff
right?
loves all of these advantages because
Yeah,
I
which
No,
is
think
Jeff has said
terrifying to
publicly that he
me.
likes the knowledge is power, which is
yeah,
that's
I don't
awful.
think they're gonna get rid of it until it actually
No.
works. My big issue I also have with this is that I think someone was supposed to get the knowledge is power advantage on Shipwheel Island a few episodes prior, but because they didn't, did the producers like
Just hide it.
there because they really wanted to see it used? Like,
Maybe
it was just weird to me that there were so many things lined up from
Yeah.
season 41, season 42. But then when the season 41 thing didn't happen, it seems like they had a backup plan to make the advantage get found. And I don't like that. I don't like the producers saying, we have these advantages. We want to make sure they get found and used so they can be part of the season. I think them not being found should be as equally satisfying as them being found, because
and
that's
also,
the
every
way
single
that the
advantage
game works.
played- Every single advantage played the exact same in season 41 and 42.
Yeah.
Yes, agreed.
Every single one, except for Mike not saying out loud he had the
Yeah.
his rate. But even
Yeah,
then, his
so-
entire tribe still knew about it.
The difference in placement makes me theorize that because no one got it on Shipwheel Island that one prior, they tried to get someone else get it, which again shows that they love it and want to see it work.
And
they're
they
two,
kind of
I think it's too much game intervention. I just think it is. So, yeah. The other thing that happened in this episode is the do or die, which I think we can all agree is bad.
was it do or die?
No,
This
awful.
Do or die was.
Yeah, it was the do or die.
Oh yeah, it was. Oh yeah, no, that's. I think if that comes back, I don't.
It's bad.
Please get rid of the do or die.
Please
I
do.
have heard.
I
I
think.
think Ricard said on a podcast at one point that like Jeff was like encouraging them to like he was hinting which one was the correct one.
Which I
Oh,
again.
I
is
mean,
what's the
It makes
point?
it entirely no stakes.
yeah.
And
Well,
also,
so my problem with it is like Lindsay getting fucked over by that. She literally had, if it, like her whole thing of wanting to get Jonathan out, she literally had to play in the immunity challenge. Like
yeah.
she was the,
And
I
she
think
even-
she was the
she
only
said-
one
she
that
said
could
later
have
she was right.
like beat him. And
Yeah, she thought that. She even said like the only person she thought even had a chance of also doing it was Drea, and so she knew she was probably just gonna lose this and have to deal with whatever
Yeah.
the consequences.
and the
Like,
issue is like, yeah, like
you don't want
that's
to
just
let
such a
Jonathan get
bad
immunity.
punishment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like she, I
that's
feel
a
like
no
she
win.
had to do this, and then to get kind of stuck with this scenario where you have a 1 in 3 chance of not going home.
Yeah.
That I think that's
Instead
just
of, if you want
awful.
people to sit out of challenges, bring back the peanut butter and stuff.
Yeah, literally. Peanut butter was funny.
Exactly. Yeah, and when people jump down for peanut
Yeah.
butter and then get butter,
Like,
Always energy.
I think didn't this happen with like Nick and Winners at War, where he just let Tony win and then like
that's.
I don't
yeah,
remember,
think so.
that mattered
It happens
somehow.
a lot. People
But yeah,
intend and then get butter.
I thought
which is,
those were always the best.
yeah. Bring
Yeah.
back that instead of everyone sitting out of the
Please,
challenges.
instead of bullshit.
Speaking
One-
of the
Get it.
challenges, I'd be curious to get y'all's perspective on this. Did y'all get like the feeling that like the cast this season and last season were just like way worse at the challenges
Yes.
than any other previous cast?
I,
Like,
I
like
literally
significantly worse.
100%.
Like
I
all
think
of the
Legitimately, one of the best challenge beasts this season was Tori. She
Yeah.
won 2 of the first 2 immunity challenges.
It was
like,
it was so weird though, because like the hanging on challenge, like people
Yeah.
lasted like in
Yeah.
fucking what was it, David vs Goliath? It lasted 6 hours.
They-
and this
Yeah,
one
oh
was,
yeah,
like,
with
what,
yeah, with
30
Christian and
minutes?
Alec.
It's like,
I
Yeah.
will say
it was
they have
so
changed.
That's so
weird.
dumb. They
That is, they
might
have
do
changed
like
this challenge.
modifications, but like
They have,
still,
yeah.
like still.
So,
What are you
so
saying,
some
Matt?
background context. They have changed that one specifically. I know because Jeff doesn't like because like when Christian and Alec did it, they went so late that Tribal got pushed back, and the producers hated it, and so they made it
Mhm.
way more difficult on all the balances. But it makes it so much less climactic
so much
because
less
there's only
interesting.
standing up
Yeah,
there for 5
absolutely.
minutes.
I mean, I still even think like I know they modify a good amount of the challenges after like just make
If
it
you're telling
harder
me that
than-
we're never gonna see a long the
Yeah,
best
bring back
part,
long
let me put it
challenges.
this way, because we were just talking about the lack of versatility of the challenges.
yeah.
Yeah.
The best part about those balance challenges is how fucking long they last. But if you're destroying
it's
that
an
part
endurance
because it's like a time waste, then it's just not interesting at all. So
Yeah.
I
I
very
think
much
that's
dislike
fair.
the
No one wants an
challenges.
endurance challenge that comes down to the 3
That
minute
comes down
mark.
to the 20 bizarre.
But
Did
also,
not like
the,
it.
the cast was just bad at challenge. Like the
Yeah.
final immunity challenge.
Awful.
It was
Oh my
not
god,
good
that was
showing.
that was
It was
pathetic.
terrible.
Do we want to move on to the Omer vote?
Yeah, we should
Yeah.
go quicker.
This was the first Marianne big moment, and I was
Yeah.
very happy.
And
loved it.
I loved it too. I
It was a
know.
good play for everyone involved, which is
Yeah.
also impressive, except for Lindsay. That made me sad.
Yeah, I think she just kind of stuck with Omar for too
Well,
long.
she could have played the amulet on him,
Yeah.
and like, I understand why you wouldn't, and like, it's one of those ones I think is more of a retrospective where you should have played it, but like,
Mhm.
she didn't
I
think
don't-
he was going home,
yeah,
and it doesn't
whatever.
look good. Like, even
It
if
doesn't.
It
Yeah, it
does, it's-
doesn't look good to. Yeah, the
You need
jury
Omer
for-
going home regardless at some point, I think was the logic at
Yeah.
that point.
If she saves Omar, it looks bad for her, and I think it blows up her.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just not good. So I understood it, and I
I understood it, yeah, but I think it definitely just kind of.
But then it ended up sinking her game completely.
Exactly.
But again,
So
this
Lindsay
was now a situation where, similar to the other two votes prior, like Omar was this
the
amazing
smart
Godfather player who's just like
He just burnt
I'll
like.
bow out, you know.
Yeah.
And it was
I
a
wanna talk about
situation where like, yeah, there was an idol played, right? I believe so, because I specifically remember.
I mean, Mike.
Oh no, never mind the extra vote.
No,
yeah. With
Yeah, that was the extra vote.
where like a
on Marianne.
majority wasn't even needed. Like she just.
Yeah, it was a plurality. It was a split vote though, so
Yeah.
like there was a majority because like in
Which was
in
the
talks
issue with that, because she could just like they her and Romeo were like, I feel like seemed to be on the
Lindsay
bottom.
definitely wants Romeo to go home over Omar.
yeah, well,
that's-
yeah, 100%.
It's better for her, but yeah, still like there's
Whatever.
no great
It just
Yeah.
didn't seem like a good like
because
Mhm.
Romeo was
thought
voting
out
for
decision by Omar
Omer as
and
well.
Lindsay.
Yeah.
And I also
Definitely
Lindsay.
Good
I wanna talk about-
episode, best episode for the winner, but not.
Yeah,
I also wanted to talk
the rest
about
of
the
the early season.
the fact that through like postseason interviews with Omar is that he had a whole ass idol
Oh, yeah.
nullifier that was not shown at all.
Yeah.
And idol
And I think
nullifiers
that-
are arguably the most broken thing in the game besides the
Mm.
knowledge is power, which is
And
I don't
I
know.
still trying to figure out why it. I mean, it probably
I guess
didn't
Because
need
they only have a set
anything.
period of time. They
in the
already
scheme
showed
of
so many
things.
advantages. It's almost like they're collapsing on themselves with like some dumb
Yeah.
ideas. I'm sad that it wasn't shown, but what would they have replaced, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They
I
had
also
so
hate
much
Gale
limited
Nullifier.
time. It is a symptom of their own. Poor
Yeah,
game
that
plan.
literally. And I
That this
think this was honestly a
I
big
heard
thing
all the
to
post
not
game
show.
stuff. Everyone was like, "This has never happened before. It's never happened before because there
Yeah.
weren't this many fucking advantages in the game."
And from what I've heard, this was also not as much Drea
was
basically exposing the fact that Omar had the control here and made the move on her. I've heard
Yeah.
in posts like that
I don't think that was as
people
important.
figured out about this and that this was part of the reason why they started to turn on Omar.
Yeah, people said.
and I think
people
that's
said that
really
it was-
interesting to not show, especially if that's true.
Yeah, because it was Jonathan's like one good strategic play is when he told Mike about the idol nullifier.
Yeah.
That was never shown.
Yep. Very strange.
Can
But
we talk about Lindsay
again,
now?
it's
When I
just
was-
Yeah, we
Lindsay,
can.
Lindsay.
Lindsay
Uh,
became my
finale.
favorite player this season. And it's because she was one of the few players that didn't feel like she was a super nerd.
Yeah.
Analyzing everything.
She just felt
she was like,
super down to
Jonathan's the one
earth.
person I need to get rid of. I'm gonna
Yeah.
keep going after Jonathan, and like maybe it's not the best play that she could have had, but she seemed competent.
What
She-
sucks is how under-edited she was at the start.
Yeah,
Was
I don't
that
really
she,
Understand that,
Like
because
when-
from
like
what I
when
could
the
see is her,
Aria
Omar,
Marianne-
and Jonathan just
yeah.
controlled the initial Taku.
But yeah, she really impressed me. I really liked her. She's the player that I'd love to see back, and I feel like
Yeah.
she doesn't get invited back just because they like other players on the season way
Mhm.
more.
I agree. It's so annoying. I think her edit in the early merge shows that she's one of the least likely players to be invited
And
back.
Yeah,
just from
no,
a
I
playing
think
that's
perspective,
really-
which is so infuriating.
And I feel like I kind of liked seeing her kind of how under edited she was in the pre-merge to kind of getting a little more content,
Yeah,
and then seeing her
But
kind
it was
of
just too late. you
Yeah,
know?
no,
Yeah,
absolutely.
She
but I
shouldn't
love
have
that
been
she seemed like a very
edited the way she
strategic
was.
player that was also flawed.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because she was definitely targeting Jonathan too much, but she was still completely aware of, like, she was one of the few people that knew what was going on, and she was one of the few people that wasn't getting blindsided. She knew she was next.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, fully agreed. Liked her a lot. The Jonathan thing.
Jonathan Fire, I mean,
It was a
Okay,
fine fire
the most
making
important
I
part of that
competition.
honestly
episode-
disagree with
most
him
important
being in
part-
Fire, but whatever. It was Romeo's
Well, no,
decision.
I think Romeo was no. So Romeo, I love Romeo, and I was
Yeah.
very proud of him. He decided the season. Like after the season, he said, "I knew I wasn't going to win, and I just wanted Marianne to win because I liked."
Yeah,
Marianne.
I can understand that for sure.
And I love Romeo for that because he's the
Yeah.
first person I've ever seen that was a goat that was dragged to the end, that was 100% aware that's what the situation was, and he let everyone know that he was aware.
Yeah.
And I respect that hell out of him for
I
it.
respect that. And with all these kind of other, I like to call them like kingmakers, people that have
Yeah,
had
yeah.
decisions to
This is the
make
first
that
time where it wasn't
obviously
like, you were
change the
gonna win
outcome
it.
of the
Yeah.
game. I really appreciate him kind of actively knowing that that was the
Yeah.
Yeah,
situation.
because he was
kind of
never
choosing.
gonna win.
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
wanted Romeo to get second place, just because he
Yeah.
deserved.
I didn't, but I also really liked what he said.
because he
at
had a great
Tribal.
final. Like
I
Mike
really
had the
think
worst-
I think he probably had the best final tribal council for.
No, Marianne
Not
had
the
one of
bet. No, that's not what I'm saying. For someone that did not have a chance at
Yeah,
winning.
for a 0 vote finalist.
Yeah,
he
I
might
think
have-
he presented it in a way that seemed fine, at least.
Yeah. Also, I hated Jonathan.
I didn't hate
That-
him, but I think he was just
I really
so.
liked him at the start of the season.
Yeah, and
it
he
died
just
down over
slowly
time.
like devolved into just being
He just-
like being shown as just a fucking dumbass like all the
Well, he
time.
also- He's not a good person from
No, not at
everything.
all.
And like, I don't want to root for someone like him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like that's why I love Danny, because Danny was the big muscular dude that was also a teddy bear.
Yeah.
I will
those
say
things-
I did like him being in the season. I do
Yeah.
think that
Yeah,
he
no, absolutely.
made the season good
And he
based in
was-
the sense that he
I
was
think
so
he
different
I
from
think he
everyone
actively
else.
Yeah,
was a
He was
positive.
entertaining because, but once again, he was trying to be strategic. He was just really bad at it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I think
appreciate-
Danny was better, like a better kind
Danny
of
was-
physical,
I would rather have
strategic.
Danny than
I would
Jonathan.
love to see
Like,
this Danny.
The
on.
moment where, like, the moment when Jonathan was like, he told Marianne that she was the backup vote.
I was
just
like,
dumb
no,
shit. I was like,
no.
okay.
You have Romeo. Why would you do?
Yeah.
Like, that's good content. That's
Yeah.
what I
that
want.
that was good content.
But
That
again,
was like,
I wish that was edited in much more of a what the fuck is this guy
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah.
sort of way,
They-
not
they
as
tried to
much
make
as
it
like
like-
a. Because
Yeah.
it was from they edited it from his perspective, which was so
Yeah,
weird.
it feels like
was
the
just
producers
Yeah.
really like Jonathan. He's
I
someone
don't-
that
yeah.
probably in the future.
yeah. It's very interesting because if the producers didn't like him, I think that,
Oh, he
that
would've looked-
tribal with
he would've been
Marianne
another-
and Drea would
Yeah.
have been painted in a very evil
Yeah.
way.
Mhm.
So
But yeah, in terms of returning players, I think he's in the top
I think
two
he's in. I
of
don't.
returning. I think him and Omer are the most likely to return.
Yeah, I can see that.
I agree. I think Drea's up there too.
I do
'cause
too.
She got this. She got.
I
the
also
Sia
think
thing, yeah.
Probably Omar,
But a lot of people
Jonathan,
didn't like
Drea,
Drea. Like a lot of
High,
players said they
maybe?
didn't like Drea that much after the season.
I
I,
guess
yeah,
I
I
can.
don't know why. It's interesting because Drea said that one of the people, if not
I
the
think it was
person she
political
is
based.
closest, the person she's closest to, is Jonathan in terms of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
end of
really.
the season.
And that
So
surprised everybody.
it's
Yeah.
interesting the post.
I think
social
that's
dynamics of that.
good at least to like.
Yeah.
At least
See.
everyone had, yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird though, because Mike postseason, he was in the alliance with Jonathan the whole season, but like he's been posting wedding pictures since the season ended, and it's all Marianne, Lindsay.
Well,
and-
Lindsay. I mean, if Lindsay was there, Jonathan wouldn't be there, and vice versa. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it's weird that Mike picked Lindsay
Yeah.
over Jonathan
I don't know.
I have
'Cause they were
no idea.
best.
I mean, there were other postseason things where they were like calling each other and laughing and smiling.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
They made an Instagram picture together and all. Like it, they were. It's
Yeah.
probably.
It's
not
just
as-
you gotta
Yeah,
choose
it's probably-
Lindsay or
But
Jonathan.
I think Drea's the most intriguing one because she's
Oh, yeah.
closest to Jonathan of all people by the end of the.
Yeah.
Yeah, that surprised me.
Anyway, final
Because
tribal.
Talk about final two.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking
Um,
about final.
I
Marianne's
think Mike.
tribal
I honestly think I think Marianne had one of the best final tribal councils
Yeah.
Yeah.
In
And also,
recent
I don't have
memory.
any problem with her winning. That makes me happy.
I don't
If there's a
either.
winner, then I'm like,
And
yeah, she
I feel
absolutely-
like, I mean, yeah, they kind of wanted to vote for Mike going in. And I feel like if Mike
Yeah.
was more, like, I don't think he had the ability to really have a
If he had
good
just been,
final
like,
tribal
good-
speech here.
No, if he had
If
just
he
accepted that
did,
he had been,
I think he would have. I think it would have been close, but I think he would have probably pulled it out. I don't know.
yeah, if he
Um,
had just given a good final tribal. I
But
think he
yeah,
would've-
If his
Marianne
final
just
tribal
straight
is
up
just
outplayed
like,
him.
I came to deceive you, I gave you my word, I wasn't ingenuine, I
Yeah.
wasn't serious about
Yeah.
it, I made a bunch of these plays, I backstabbed,
He
I
pulled
lied,
a-
whatever.
I think
Because the reality is that Marianne didn't make too many plays outside of the Omer vote,
yeah, no,
right?
she
and
didn't.
she won purely based off of that, right?
And yeah, and
Mike
she
had way more
presented
to
it
his
and
name, but he didn't own up to
absolutely.
it. So it's just he butchered the final tribal. Marianne had one of the best, swooped in, and I think that's again one of those things that
Yeah.
goes to show you that it's.
I am
never
glad
till
he's the
over,
runner-up,
so.
though. I think he played a
I
very
wanted Romeo to be
solid
runner-up.
game for the type of kind of, I guess, the type of person he is. Like, you don't typically
Yeah.
see old, just old guys like him kind of
The
play those
firefighter
kind of,
type.
yeah. And I know he.
No, you need to see a lot of New Jersey and
Yeah.
Canadians.
I specifically remember from like the postseason or like preseason interviews. I know he quoted like Tony as someone he wanted to model his game around, and I don't think he did, but I think he probably did a little
Yeah.
more than I figured he would. Kind of
Yeah.
seeing
One thing I
his
do
kinda-
love about this final tribal that I didn't think about is that preseason, I didn't think any of these three had a shot at winning.
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought Marianne was too young, and I was like, I don't think Romeo or Mike have a shot either. Like,
I was
I
not
do really
high
think
on
that
Marianne at all. I like.
well, I loved Marianne.
I loved her. I just
She's
did not see how she like survived.
She's one of the most impressive players
Yeah.
I've ever seen. Like a lot of
think-
winners, like okay, yeah, I see why they win going in.
Yeah.
Like if a time traveler comes and tells me this person wins, I wouldn't be surprised by most winners. Marianne, I was so impressed.
Yeah, same.
I will say, I think that one thing that I think made Marianne's win a little bit less exciting for me, as I think it could have been, is the fact that Erica won with a similar sort of under the
Yeah,
radar
so
type strategy
I think-
the season prior.
Yeah.
And she was, taking a fire, and it just.
I honestly think I
taken
definitely
a lot.
regard Marianne higher in this regard.
I
at
do
least.
too.
Yeah. Because I think
Well-
Romeo's smarter than
Yeah.
Xander.
I think Erica was more strategic, but I think
And-
Marianne's a more likable winner.
I don't
Yeah.
think so. I think Marianne is smarter than
I
Erica.
think
do
so?
too, but I think Erica. I
Because
think
Marianne
Xander
didn't have-
mostly just had a wrong perception.
Erica just,
Yeah.
no, Erica just had a partner in Heather that was completely reliable. Marianne didn't have a single person that she was
Mhm.
with the entire game, and that's super
I guess
impressive.
the one thing I will credit her for, because I actually think this was addressed at the final tribal, is my initial apprehension to her was that it didn't seem like she was taking it seriously, like very
Yeah.
much, and like kind of was just like,
And
well,
then she said,
I'm here to have fun. And she was asked about that at the final tribal, and she said, I noticed that in pre-merge,
"Yeah,
that was
yeah,
what was happening to people.
Yeah.
The younger, more strategic players were getting voted out. Zach.
she played
and
so
then-
much better than her age."
Yeah,
Yeah.
Zach, and then Swati, and then Lydia, and these younger players, and she saw that pattern and wanted to, be a little bit more.
And
or
I
less
really
of a target
like
by being less
people
strategic
kind of
during
saying
that
that, especially if Final Tribal. I think that just
Yeah,
like shows,
It
I
shows
guess, a
actually
sense of
influence.
agency and like,
she was very aware. She
Yeah,
knew she had to win. she
especially
knew she had to
having
not
great
get
like
out.
game awareness.
I think she's a big, modern Survivor winner, and that you have to be able to adapt with all these
Yeah.
advantages. And she was very good at whatever
Yeah.
happened.
Agreed.
She still figured it out.
I
Like,
am
as much as
worried that
they edited like 5 or 6 players to be smarter than her.
yeah.
And I don't know if
But
that's the
they-
case.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm worried about. Is I worry if this is going to become a trend where the winners are like the under-edited people. Like I would
Yeah,
love to see
I
an
don't
Omar
really-
win, or, you know, whatever. Like
I don't really
want,
know if
you
I want to see an over-edited winner. Well,
No, but you need to
but
strike a
yeah,
balance
you
to
need
some
a
extent.
balance. Yeah, I don't
Because I
really
feel like
I don't feel like I
between-
want to see an
between-
under-edited winner very much.
Again, similarly between Erica and Marianne, these are two winners we've had now in back-to-back seasons who do not look like they're gonna win until the finale.
Yes,
I do think Marianne was
Or
edited better
until-
than Erica by quite a
I
bit.
feel like
But
At least with
she was edited
Marianne,
as
at
a
least
character that I
until
didn't think
Final
that she
Six.
would win, but she was edited as a character that was
that
definitely
would go
likable,
far.
You know what I mean?
I
I
do.
think
I
at
like-
least, yeah,
By episode 8, I think it was at least apparent that players thought of her as a threat.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is
No one
I
thought
think
of Eric as a
early merge season she had some OTT and over the top negative like coverage
Yeah.
for her. where
Yeah.
it's like, she's a lot. She's annoying, and she keeps talking. You know, I was like, okay, she's not gonna win.
Yeah, that's
Maybe
kind of
so
what I
far, since there's so
like
much-
took out of
But
that
that's
as
because
well. I
she didn't
figured
have
she
a
would be
chance of winning. She
targeted
kept playing
before.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think she would have won if she played the whole game like that. So I think it was.
Yeah.
I like her edit from that aspect. I wish we got more of Marianne, but I think they could have done it a lot worse. Where it was like, how did this person win? Like she's just a goofball.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
And I think if she hadn't had such a good final tribal, I don't think they would have edited her nearly as well.
Yeah.
Because it's
I agree.
impossible to have someone say all of that stuff so well and just say, "Oh,
Yeah.
this goober."
Yeah.
So do we want to kind of talk about how, like, I guess what we thought of this season and kind of what
Yeah.
we could see for like 43 and beyond, I guess.
Mhm.
I think the one thing that they've done best is casting. I think they've done a really good job
Yeah,
casting these past
100%.
seasons, and they've carried the seasons in many
Yeah.
regards.
I do too.
I think this cast was way better than the cast of 41.
Oh,
I'll be honest.
oh,
I
I
was not a huge
agree,
fan of 41's
100%.
cast.
Yeah, I think
all.
my issue with 41 is I feel like there were just like way too many kind of, I guess, over the top burnouts, and then these
Yeah,
people that were
whatever.
under edited and just kind of like.
And I think there's a
meaningless
reason why
this season.
the cast of this season is so much more closer friend-wise than,
Yeah.
than the other
That was
seasons.
one
So
that really impressed me. I don't think I've ever.
yeah, which was cool. But I think I agree with Matt here in the sense that I think it's a great cast. The reason that this season probably doesn't, if I'm putting seasons on a percentile,
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't put this season higher than maybe the 60th percentile. It's in the upper half of seasons, but it's on the lower half of that upper half. For
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, I feel like
Is
I'd
that
say that as well.
The reason that sits there for me is again the advantage stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, if we have this cast in a
Say
seasons 25 to 30,
I would even
type
say
era.
something like literally just put this cast in like. I feel like David versus Goliath is probably
Yeah,
my
sure,
favorite
whatever,
example of
whatever
modern.
that era,
Yeah.
whatever that era
Yeah.
of pre-Winners at War, pre-fire making competition Final
Oh,
Four,
yeah.
in my opinion.
like a
That era of
Cambodia-ish.
Survivor of
Yeah.
gameplay where it's just a couple idols, steal
Couple
a vote every
idols,
now
maybe.
and then,
Yeah.
you know, and you know, not the shot in the dark, not the it's just,
No,
there's too many
none of
advantages.
this bullshit.
If there
that's
is
kind
if,
of-
if the Survivor seasons for the next 10 seasons maintain the same structure in terms of advantages that are like RNG based and are based on like they're just
Luck.
like overdone, I
luck
don't think there's
and just
I don't think there's going to be a single future season that tops this season. I think this is the best possible season
Yeah.
you can come up with while
I would agree.
doing all of this garbage in the background.
One
Um,
positive for me in the 40s. I like that they got rid of themes. I think that that's fun. I'm okay with them bringing
I-
back themes, but like it gotten a little bit too much for me.
Yeah,
I like that-
but
Yes.
I feel
You
like I like the. I don't know why. I just like the theme names.
I don't like
know.
pitting people based on their personalities or their assets. or
I kind of yeah.
It-
My
it's
issue
really-
is like
I think they would
I'm
have
really
some
big.
habits.
I like Kagiyan and Ko-Rong. I guess
I'd be down for like a 10-season break from it. Is what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
yeah. I think
I
that's
agree.
fair.
Yeah, I like that. But
Like,
but
makes the title way worse.
if
it's just-
you're gonna have the advantages, if you're gonna have the sob stories, if you're gonna have frankly, I don't like how Jeff Probst is like the main character of Survivor now in the
Yeah.
sense that he's like commentating things. and,
Yeah,
like,
he
a little
has.
The speaking to the
kinda
camera
talking
thing is
about
over.
yeah,
There's
the
there's
like
no
the
great-
third wall breaking and kind of talking
Just-
about like him hiding the advantage on
Uh,
camera. That shit.
It won't strike above barely over
Mhm.
a top
Yeah.
half for me, you know, and this is probably the best it'll be. 41 for me is like very low. I did not.
I'd
put
say
41 at
yeah, I'd
all,
say like
so,
probably
um,
not like bottom, but probably close. Like,
if
probably
I had to
next
separate
tier.
them into if I had to separate them at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tiers, I would say that tier 1 being the best, tier 5 being the worst. I would say that season 42 is on the upper end of tier 3, maybe
Yeah.
the lower end of tier 2.
I'd say that as well, and then
And
41.
season 41 is probably on the low end of tier 4 or the high end of tier 5, to be honest. I don't
Yeah,
know if I've disliked the season as much.
I'd say
of
that
lately.
maybe middle of tier 4, though I can't really think of
I can't think of
too many
redeeming
seasons that I'd
factors about
put
it.
below that.
Yeah.
Or I can
So-
think of several, but not like.
Let me put it this way. My favorite character in season 41 is Ricard. I like
Yes,
probably
me too,
half the
me too.
cast of season 4 better than Ricard.
Yeah,
So,
Danny was my favorite by far.
I
but-
think
Danny was cool.
I think mine were probably Ricard, Danny, and I think Xander. But then like
Danny also hated Jeff, which I appreciate.
yeah,
Ah,
that was I think
yes,
that was
that's
funny.
true. Danny highly
I
disliked.
liked Sydney, but also because she was fun to hate.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I love.
Not fun to
Sydney.
hate. She was just fun
Sydney
to.
reminds me of me. That's my issue.
She's
Um,
the, I think
she was
they
just
cast
fun.
they tried to cast the exact same cast for both seasons. Sydney was just Tori.
Sydney was supposed to be in
Yeah.
season 42, which is so funny. I would have
Oh,
loved
really?
to see Sydney
Wasn't
on season
it-
42.
That would.
We
That
could have had
so
Tiffany instead of
funny.
Mari.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
I didn't like
Anyway.
Tiffany at all.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of her. All right.
All right. So yeah, I think that's gonna sum up our thoughts on Survivor 42.
Watch us dissect Gabon on the next episode.
I love Gabon.
I love
Hot take,
Gabon.
Gabon is a.
Gabon's a great season.
It's a
don't
tier.
know if
Not for the
Watch-
you don't watch Gabon for the gameplay though. That's also.
But this is what I mean: is Gabon's vote outs are so fucking funny. I
Yeah.
love them. Like it's such interesting TV. I don't know. All right.
Fine, Heroes,
All right.
Healers, Hustlers. We'll discuss that one
Ugh,
instead.
Jesus Christ.
What do you
that's a
wanna
good-
talk
yeah,
about?
you.
No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We'll figure it out later.
But
We'll do
yeah,
a random number generator.
we'll do a random generator and just talk about that season. It's not a bad idea. But yeah, that's gonna do it. That's our thoughts on Survivor 42. Like and comment if you enjoyed, and maybe we'll do another one of these. You can comment what you'd like to see from us, something like that. But yeah, that's gonna do it for us.
Adios.
Bye, everyone.